Hey everybody, this is Mr. Barron here. If I have you at Heron, or if I don't have you at Riverside, hello, hello. Today we're going to talk a little bit about TinkerCAD on Autodesk. Now, the entire unit that we're learning about right now is about prototyping. How do we make some designs that start to show how something will come together, or what it will be like? I think TinkerCAD is a really great place to start with this, especially if you're someone who, outside of this class, is really interested in 3D modeling and animation, and even if you played around with like Minecraft a lot, you'll see a lot of similarities between the way that this works and the way that those programs work. And I'm hoping that you can use this powerful but convenient 3D modeling software to do some cool stuff both in this class and outside of this class. So just like you did at the end of class the other day, you'll go ahead and sign in. Google, hit the sign in with Google button. And I'm going to be giving you a lot of instructions, kind of step by step on how to do this as you go through. Feel free to pause the video with each step as you work through, because our goal is by the end of class today, you all created the exact same design that I have on my screen, such that you get used to playing around with TinkerCAD a little bit. You'll go ahead and click Create New Design. And once you get there, it's going to give you some sort of funky name for your design. We'll go ahead and change. Mine is Smashing Espoo. Let's name this something that's a little bit more related to what we're working on. This is the 2.3 model rocket. And once you've renamed it, the next step before you actually create anything in this is to go down on the right and hit the Edit Grid button. When you hit the Edit Grid button, we're going to change a few things about this. First, we're going to change the inches. Then we'll go ahead and change the size of this thing. We're probably interested in building something that's bigger than 8 inches, either in reality or in kind of our scale drawing world. And for today, the biggest this thing can do is about 40 by 40. The reason I think it's set to that is that's the size of a particular set of 3D printers. And you can actually use this software to design stuff that then you immediately print off of a 3D printer. You'll hit Update Grid when you're done, and you'll have a nice big grid like this. And before you do anything else, go around to this square in the top left-hand corner. This square is the key way to view stuff as you start to build it in 3D. You can twist it and use it to get different angles on things. And if you click on any of the particular squares like back or top, it'll actually give you the perspective in 2D. Our goal for today is actually going to be to build what we built in our bell work today, which is a model rocket. And the way that TinkerCAD works is we build them based on shapes. We seem to have 3 different types of shapes here. We have this red tube in the middle. We have this cone that we can put on top. We have these triangle wedges that are on the side that represent the wings. So I'm going to start out with our cylinder. You can go to whatever shape you need, in this case our cylinder, and follow me in doing this. Go over on the right and drag it into the middle of the screen. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on it a little bit. And once I've gotten there, I'm going to go ahead and change the color to red. You do that by clicking right above where it says solid, selecting the color that you want on this. Click right above where it says solid, select the color that you want. Next, we want to make this thing the appropriate size. If I start to click on these white dots here, I'll start to see some of the sizes of this thing. Our default setting for everything is that it's 1 inch tall, 1 inch wide, and 1 inch long. That's not exactly what we want today, though. We want a pretty tall model rocket top, and we want something that has a radius of 2 inches. Now, radius works a little bit funky when it comes to circles in this thing. I'm going to show you that right now. If you click on that little white dot that we have, it'll highlight whatever measurements are in the plane that you're currently in. And then I can actually click on the numbers and change them. Now, I said I wanted the radius of this to be 2 inches, so I'm going to go ahead and double click on this, type in 2, hit enter, and what we're left with is actually this kind of funky oval. Because the way that TinkerCAD works always works in terms of all 3 of its dimensions. So I have to go and change the length measurement of this 2 along the way. Now I have a nice circle again. That's 2 inches tall and nice and centered. Now, on our bell work, we said the rocket was 24 inches total in height. 24 inches total in height. So that means that this without of the cone is going to be a 22 inches. If I hit this white dot on top, it's going to give me the black arrows to demonstrate the segment. I can click on this measurement to the right and hit 22, hit enter, and if I zoom out, I'll see bada bing, bada boom. I got the body of a rocket ready to go. The next shape that we wanted to add to this was a cone on top. Scroll down on the right through your basic shapes. You'll find cone, which for whatever reason is typically in purple. If I grab it, I can move it around in the XY plane, which means kind of flat. I can move it around to any space on this flat piece. And in our drawing, it was white, so I'll go ahead and make it white. Now, I'm going to move this into a little bit of perspective so I can see this better. If I click, I'll see again that the default of this is 1 by 1. According to our measurements, if I look on the slide, this is 2 inches wide, just like the rest of the body, and 2 inches tall. So I'll click my little white square here. It'll let me change the measurements to 2 and 2. And then, if I click this little white measurement on top, just like the last one, I can also change that to the height. Now the question is, when I drag this thing around, it starts to move in the XY plane, but I need to get this on top of this massive rocket body that's right next to it. In order to move something vertically in TinkerCAD, you can use this little black arrow. And if you click it and drag it, it'll let you move it up and down. Now here's the really convenient part of it. You see this measurement forming on the right over here as you move it up and down. You can go ahead and double click on the number inside of it as soon as you hit that black arrow. The height we want to raise it to is 22. So it goes right on top of the other piece. And if I zoom out, I'll see that I was successful in lifting this to the top. And now all I gotta do is drag it in its own plane. Oops. 22 inches above the ground into the right place. Perfectly on top. Last but not least, we gotta create our wings. Now there's a couple different pieces you could use for this, but I'm gonna select the wedge. Because it has that kind of angled triangle look, that isosceles triangle look that our shapes on the rocket do. Just like the last one, the front of this that I'm looking head on at needs to be changed from 1 to 4 inches. And according to our measurements, it's also 4 inches tall. So I'm going to change the front to 4 inches. And I'm going to change the height to 4 inches once I click on the top of the white. And I'll go ahead and change that to the color, proper color of white. Now you notice this looks a little bit too thick to be a really convenient wing. On the side, we don't have a measurement for this off of our drawing, but I'm just going to go ahead and say 0.25 because that feels about right for today. 0.25 feels about right for today. Now, if we want, if we're able to look at this thing directly from the top, we should be able to take this wing and line it up flush with one of the sides of the rocket. Such That is in a pretty neat position. But I don't actually want just one wing. If I were actually working on this thing, our drawing had two, and I would honestly probably want four rocket wings. So what I'm going to do is click on this rocket wing. And you can't see it on my screen, but I'm going to hit Control C. Control C, which is going to copy the part. And then I'm going to hit Control V. 1, 2, and hit Control V again. 3. Such that I now have the amount of wings that I'm looking for. I've got that first one flushed in there. But when we copy a wing, it's not quite facing the right direction. The way that we change that is with this little set of black arrows that light up red when you hover over them and give you what looks like a protractor. If you click on that arrow, it'll start to let you spin it around. And for our first example, it makes sense to split it around to about 180 because it'll be facing the complete opposite direction. And I can make it flush at that point in time. We want to make some wings that are at right angles. I'm going to make one that's at 90 degrees to the left, and one that's at 90 degrees to the right. And I'm looking to put it right in the middle of that cylinder and make it nice and flush. And I'm going to do a quick spin around for all of my wings. To make sure that they're looking, which might take a minute. Once you've gone and evened out your wings, one of the most convenient things about TinkerCAD is that it's insanely easy to share your design. Once you feel like you've made this exact model yourself in your own TinkerCAD, click the Send To button. Scroll down to Invite People. Click the button Generate New Link. And click the button Copy Link. Once you've done that, you can go to the Google Classroom assignment for 2.3. You can click Add on the right side of the screen, and you can click Link. Because and copy and paste your link. Because once you've pasted that link for me on Google Classroom, it'll be real easy for me to look at it. Now, this is kind of a crash course in TinkerCAD on kind of adding some basic shapes together. We're going to work a lot more with it and practice a lot more next week. If you have questions, feel free to email me over the long weekend. Or because Wednesday is an A-day, we don't have normal office hours, I'm going to hold office hours at 2 or at 4 o'clock on both Tuesday and Thursday if you feel like you want to come and get a little bit of help with this. Thanks for watching, and good luck.